Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Welcome to this morning's call. My name is Sinead Pollock, and we're super excited to see you all on this fine Saturday morning. So, welcome to the Lead, Laugh, Love podcast. And this morning, I'm thrilled to have an absolute icon leader with us today. This is someone who's no stranger to us and is very passionate about our industry and lifting up others. Alet-Marie van Zyl is a Gold Presidential Director from Kimberley, South Africa. Alet-Marie is building this business with her incredible husband, Quinton, and together they are remarkable leaders with an unwavering passion for helping others, inspiring excellence, and creating a lasting impact. Now, Alet-Marie is a really true friend to Australasia, and we were honoured last year to welcome Alet-Marie not once but twice to Australia, and I can say that we definitely are all the better for our time with Alet-Marie. So, good morning, Alet-Marie. Welcome to the call. Thank you for being here. It's
Good
always a pleasure.
morning, tonight. Good morning, good morning. It's so good to be with you all.
Now, when we do these calls, we always start with one of the most important questions, and we start with the why. So everybody this morning would love to hear from you. Why Mannatech? What made you say yes, and what led you to being here with us this morning?
Well, Sinead, for all the new people, I think it's important to say that we were never looking for a business. We simply were looking for health answers for our daughter. She had some serious things going on in her life, and it affected our quality of life so much. And then a friend, and another friend, and another friend. For 5 years, we were told about Mannatech products, and I really just thought, it can't be as good as they say. So we were seeing so many doctors and specialists, and eventually one friend gave us a sample, and we saw such remarkable things happening in her energy, her focus, her clarity. It even in about a week's time, it impacted her speech, and we were so excited for these changes. So as a product user, I sort of realized, it would be much better to get these products for free than to keep on paying for them. And that's how our business journey started. So we were enrolled as associates after we were customers for about 3 months. And pretty soon the math took over because we did understand the networking concept. We were in previous companies, never had real success, never really had a big business, but somehow, some way, we believed this was our destiny to land up in Mannatech, see such phenomenal things happening with our daughter's life and with the people who we loved around us lives. And eventually, I just said to Sinead, this isn't just the best industry, this is the best company in the industry. So because Mannatech is so close to our hearts, yes.
I love that. And I think, for those of you that have met Alet-Marie or you've seen her speak before, you'll have also likely have met Quinton, her husband, who's done a call for us already this year. Um, because you talk about the why and the results, but it was a rocky start because Quinton wasn't convinced, was he?
No,
No.
no, Quentin was not on board at all. Um, and I make it sound easy, but it's really not that easy. I just want to give you hope. If you
Yes.
have maybe a partner that's not too excited about your Mannatech journey right now, Quentin was working so hard that he literally didn't see what was happening at home. He would leave here before we woke up, and he would come back home when we were all asleep again. So he literally didn't see what was happening in Jessica's life day by day, week by week. But I had the physiotherapist, the speech therapist, the occupational therapist, and the biokineticist telling me, something's changing, something's different. She is growing. She learned something like she couldn't learn she couldn't count to three in 4 years of therapy, and
Wow.
within about a week's time she could count to 10. And the same goes with the primary colors. She couldn't remember the primary colors names in 4 years of therapy, and within about a week's time she was actually doing primary and secondary colors. So, and her body strength was improving. So, and her quality of sleep was improving. It literally took me about 3 to 4 hours to put that child to bed every night.
Yeah.
And we started using, the products, and I could see a significant reduction in the time for her to fall asleep. And I've experienced that as well because I'm an overthinker. So we love the quality of sleep, we get from these products. But Quentin didn't see that. So he was coming home, whenever we were passing ships at night, he was expressing his sincere discomfort about me spending money on supplements because I've always spent money on supplements. That's maybe one of the things, we always try to explain to people why they need supplements. And I always knew, our food these days aren't enough. So I've, yeah, I've tried to explain to him these things happening, but because he didn't see it, he wasn't too excited about it. And then I realized, I was a goldsmith at the time. I didn't earn enough to cover all the expenses at that stage. And I realized, if I can tell my mom, if I can tell my sister or my friends about these products, and I didn't have a lot of friends. I remember when the person who gave us the product said, if you have 15 people on the products, you would earn, a couple of bucks back. And I'm like, I don't even know 15 people. We just moved back to the town we grew up in, and, everybody's gone and studied and outside of South Africa. So I was literally at a stage where I didn't I said to my enroller, you know what, this is going to be a miracle. I'm going to tell you now, for me to get 15 people will be a miracle. And subsequent every stage after that, I think is a miracle as well, because it feels like that. But Quentin eventually, after 2 years, got the point. Okay, he was home more at one stage, but it literally took us 2 years. And even when we got to presidential level, he said to me, "You know what? It's easy to do a deal and earn whatever. You can do that in any industry." But he said to me, the test will be to see if this keeps on coming, if this is a recurring income, if you can make it stable.
Mhm.
And when we went presidential and we could make it stable, a stable income for years and years and years,
Mhm.
that was what actually changed his mind about the company, the products, the industry, and everything else. So obviously, Plus makes him feel better. He says Plus is his favorite product. I want to tell you, Plus is my favorite product because it literally works for very tired husbands as well. But yeah, we have to say, looking back, it's been a 13-year journey for us.
Mhm.
Um, Looking back, there's been so many instances where my health dipped, or Quentin's energy levels, or his health dipped. And I'm so grateful we have these products to our fingertips to,
Mhm.
to add this or to add that and make sure our bodies get what they need, because the challenges get more as we age. And
Mhm.
also, I find that, our bodies recover slower. So sometimes, you're not going to drink just two or three or four. It's food. And
Yeah.
I love food. So I drink as much food as I need.
That's a really good way to answer. And for those of you watching, we do have the recording of the call we did with Quentin. He is so all in, and he has also been to Australia. He is so all in. The belief that maybe wasn't there in the beginning is certainly there in spades and spades and spades now. And I think you two have been on a remarkable journey together. And we love you know how we love you guys. We love the energy, and you always inspire us. Now that we know what got you started, let's really talk about leadership. So, how significant was the leadership journey for you personally? And what are the key experiences or approaches that helped you grow and develop as a leader? Because when we look at leadership, it doesn't happen overnight. It is
Yes.
very much it is a journey, to use the old cliche, and there is a learning and a growth path along the way. So,
Yes, Sinead, it's actually it's such a remarkable journey, and so few people ever go on it. So if you think about, we in South Africa, we are very familiar with the book Building, Leadership Revolution by Aaron Woodward and Chris Brady. And they actually explained the leadership levels. And for those of you who've been to Elevate and Elevate Plus, we did run through the leadership levels that's in the book. So if you don't have the book, reach out to your upline. They might share it with you and you get to know what the leadership levels are. But I'm going to run through them quickly. And just this week, I was sitting with a leader and we went through this whole process because once you think you join Mannatech, you think you're on your journey with leadership, and you're actually not. You are first, entering the first level of leadership, which is the learning level. So as you're learning about the new products and learning about, the conversation plan and learning how to have more people skills, because this is a people's business and we can do everything we want if we help enough people to get what they want. So as we are learning all these new things and plugging into new webinars and trainings and live meetings and you are getting so excited, so naturally you are starting to share what you've learned, whether it is about the products or the business. And now you are on level 2, which is the performing level. And sadly, most people get stuck there. They perform and perform and perform and tell everybody about these great products, but they do not learn the necessary skills how to handle bigger groups or how to handle more difficult individuals or how to look out for, the little shy person sitting in the corner and they probably don't want to be part of this whole roo-rah going on. So you have to learn about personalities and how to, I think more importantly, applying the personality, traits or tests to people and to suit them best, to help them grow to their full potential. And only once you start to sort of get a couple of people involved in your business or on the products, you are now leading them. So that's level 3. And some people get stuck there, which is normal, but this might not be for you who are listening on this call today. You are probably some of those people who want to go to the level where you want to reach for presidential or beyond, and you want your leaders to also duplicate, because there is no fun in you working a 9 to 5 for yourself. The pay is great. The time freedom is great, but the joy of network marketing is in the duplicating. So if you can equip yourself and equip your team to become duplicators, then we've just multiplied. And that's what magic is. So as we are developing leaders who go out and do their own home meetings, who do their own, what we call a phone team, everybody gets on their phone, invite a couple of people to look at a product promotion or look at the business or a travel incentive, we are expanding the reach. We are getting the message out. And if you think about it, I always say to somebody, you know what, I could work hard. I could work through the night when I was a goldsmith. I could work 24 hours straight. Okay. I didn't think I could do much after that. I had to be pretty tired, but I could go for 24 hours straight. But that only means it got me 24 hours of work. Whereas if you have 10 friends who you love and care about in the business, and they each share with 10 people, with your 10 hours that you maybe add into that, you are on 110 hours for the day. So that tops all maths. Okay, that is like the eighth wonder of the world. So we can literally multiply time. We can multiply our reach. And isn't that what we all want? We want to have a broader impact on the world. We want to have more people use the products, have more people experience great sleep, experience quality of life, energy, mobility, and I think as we sit here today, I just said to Sinead, you know what? You don't get to really appreciate mobility unless you've had something happen that takes away your mobility, or you don't get to really enjoy your health unless you see it taken away from somebody else, or maybe from somebody in your home, or maybe from yourself. So we are in the business of health and wellness. We're not in the business of sickness. We want to expand people's, I want to say, quality of life. We don't want to rescue people who are on the brink of death. Yes, it's probably probably not a good idea to leave them there, okay? But you want to improve people's lives. You want to focus on creating. You want to focus on expanding. You want to focus on, being grateful for just having a great experience with anything in your life for that day. But and we did talk about it a lot at Elevate Plus, the experiences and the feelings and the frequencies that we do operate in. That is where this becomes quite important, to go from a level 4 leader where you create leaders to sitting back and becoming a level 5 leader where you watch your leaders becoming better leaders and them ranking themselves up and ranking their groups up. So level 5 leadership is where I find that literally I get more done by loving people, just me sitting at home on the farm and thinking great thoughts about, what this person can do and what is their great qualities. And because we're so fast at, pinpointing, what's wrong and how we can address that. How about we find what is excellent in a person and expand that? Because that's most probably their gift and their calling. And that is where level 5 comes in. And that is where your leaders duplicate, where you're not even involved. People congratulate us. And I mean, by no means, I didn't think I had anything to do with it. I started our business. Okay. That's what I did. And I shared with a couple of people and they went on and became great. And it was April, with the great momentum that was happening here, we broke 8 presidentials and ranking up presidentials in just one leg. And I'm thinking, I had nothing to do with that. But in the end, sitting back, you think, okay, I had everything to do with it. I started it, but I had
Yep.
nothing to do with it. They became amazing because we believed in them. They
Yeah.
became amazing because we think great thoughts about them. So, so that's what we want to do. And that's what's so exciting about this journey, because you get to camp wherever you want. But it does take leadership to go through these experiences, and you have to practice it. It's like riding a bicycle or, swimming. You can't learn to swim by sitting on the side of the water. You can't ride a bicycle by, just looking at it. You have to get on there. You have to make those mistakes. You have to treat every experience not as a success or a failure, but as a practice run.
Yes.
If we don't win, we learn, okay,
Yes.
and we get to apply that knowledge next time.
And I think that because it is a learning curve, and as much as we'd love to think that this journey could be perfect, the reality of it is no, but there are bumps. There is, progress
Yeah,
doesn't come by smooth sailing. There are ups and downs, there are hurdles. And I think
exactly.
mindset's really important, because you can think, oh, it's a disaster, or you think, you know what, I tried, it didn't work. Now I know why. I can pick myself up and I can do better
Mm.
next time. So I think that's so important. When we think about leadership and personal growth and building a team and helping others, there can be times when the activities that drive your business, like personal enrolling, can take a back seat. So how important is it to continue prioritizing that part of your business? And what are the habits or the routines that you've developed to make sure you're doing that? Because I believe that as a leader, it's very hard for you to work with a team and ask them to do something you're not doing. And I think, when you're passionate, you obviously want to have a bigger impact. And how can you do that? By not just by developing and growing your team, but also bringing new people into the team. So how does that balance work for you?
So we have a margin, and we don't fall behind that margin, or we have a curfew, or a goal, or a limit, or whatever you want to call it. I strongly believe that yes, you lead from the front. So I cannot ask you to use whatever new product we launched or whatever product we're promoting if I'm not
Mm.
using it. So I cannot, I sincerely believe you talk from your experience. And that is what makes this industry so great, because once you've experienced the product and have a story on it, brilliant. Now you can go out and conquer the world because your story matters. Your story are, even when you get skeptical people, I say to them, I'm so sorry you feel that way. Can I tell you about Jessica's story? Or can I tell you about our story? And nobody can argue with me. We have the evidence. She's 18. She speaks 4 languages now. She loves doing her work and her reading and everything else. And she's always looking for new courses to expand. And that was a child that they said will never walk or talk.
Mhm.
So nobody can argue with it, with the results we're getting.
Mhm.
On the leadership, on the performance side, um, I strongly, strongly, strongly believe we have to recruit between 2 and 5 people. If you're starting out in this industry, maybe make it between 1 and 5 people a month. And don't feel intimidated, because I've mentioned this to people and they literally go like, oh, I can't do 5, but just hang in there. I'm going to explain this now. If you are on a roll, it gets easier and easier and easier to just stay in that. And again, it's a frequency, because it's a feeling, and a feeling can get measured. And that is what we call the frequency. So as you are becoming more and more excited about your first win, your second win comes easier. Your third win comes even easier. And your fourth and fifth win comes even easier, because you ride on the previous success. And it sort of becomes a habit. If you keep yourself in that habit to train your mind and train your heart to stay in that positive space where you say, I'm so excited to meet the people I'm going to enroll this month. Um, that is what you're going to experience, because you will experience what you are looking out for. If you are thinking, and I do catch myself sometimes still feeling this way, oh no, I don't, what if they sent back the subscription order because they didn't understand what I explained? Or what if they got a side effect from, taking whatever and with whatever, and now, something in their diet is interacting with their sleeping habits and they think it's the products, or, we all get those situations. But here's the great thing. You can bank on it that you're going to get what you expect. So before you start thinking those thoughts, catch yourself and say, what if they have a life-changing experience? What if this is what they have been prayed for? You know, for us, I can say, I didn't want to spend money on Mannatech. I didn't want to buy products. I was already using vitamins. I think I was the bee's knees, but I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And the problem is that, once the products work so great, you cannot keep quiet. At least
No.
I can't. Okay. And maybe yeah, I don't want to say go look out for Alet-Maries and recruit Alet-Maries, because I can tell you, I think I'm a little bit of a handful. At least my husband tells me that. But yeah, maybe if we are talking about products, um, it's so good to recruit somebody on a feel-good product. For instance, the Plus, or, we were talking about sport this morning, or Bounce Back. It's so easy to recruit people on, or the GI Pro Balance. I mean, it's like 15 minutes once I've eaten something I shouldn't and my stomach calms down. I love that. Okay. Or if we talk about the business side, if I said to an associate yesterday, we had a little meeting, and he said, well, this one can do with the money and this one can do with the money. And I said to him, let's for a while not recruit the people who need the money. What if we recruit the people who have the money already? Because we find that they are great customers, number one. They share the products easier with their friends, because I mean, we were literally talking about how our Lumi pack, the whole pack, which lasts me 4 months, is the same price as one cream, one
Yeah.
moisturizing cream. that some people use. Okay, so I'm like, why wouldn't you use Lumi then? so, so we need to keep away from thinking. There we go, Sinead. Yes, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't have it on me.
There we go. Why wouldn't you use Lumi?
Why not?
Because it makes us feel like we're glowing all day, you know?
It really
And
does.
and it does make us glow, all right? We do get a lot of compliments, all of us. We just had the great compliment from a lady who started using her pack on Friday, and in South Africa the wash is out of stock. And she said, she's got these little blackheads and they were dissolving, and she thought she might have to wait for the wash to do that. But somehow all the other products did that for her. She's so excited. And even her neighbor said she's glowing differently. And I'm like, you know what? That makes me excited.
Mhm.
So as we are focusing on products and business, we need to set ourselves a standard. And in
Mhm.
our house, the standard is 2 to 5 people. And look, sometimes I miss the two, but at
Mhm.
least I went for it. And next month, it's easier to get to the 2 to 5 because I've already done the groundwork. I've already shared testimonies, shared stories, prepared them. This is how this worked. This is how that worked. But if you don't do anything,
Mhm.
nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, Sinead, you had a wonderful joke about it's not network do nothing. What's that? What's it
Oh,
saying?
that's a JP. That's a JP Coster. It's
Oh,
not net do nothing marketing. It's network marketing, he told us. Yes.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
So yeah, we need to focus on not net do nothing
Yes.
marketing. We need to focus on recruiting. And I don't know if everybody on this call realizes it, but we've had some legs die.
Mhm.
That is pretty common. If you don't put in new blood at the bottom of the leg, and I don't want to do structured teaching, please reach out to your leader so they can
Mhm.
teach you the best structure for your business.
Mhm.
But we found that if there's not new blood coming in, and I'm taking the responsibility for the new blood, because
Mhm.
that's how I recruit other people who have the same values. Okay. So as new blood is coming into the bottom of the leg, everybody gets excited. Oh, there's another 100 points. Oh, there's 500 points. Oh, now there's 1,000 points. And now everybody can rank up, okay, by going that little bit extra and doing their side volume. But if nothing is coming in, nothing is happening. And people have a tendency to feel that they failed at this business
Mhm.
and then they leave.
Yeah.
And sometimes they continue using the products and sometimes they don't. So
Mhm.
I feel more comfortable having in this business, we don't have a lot of control, except for our attitude and our actions. But I feel a lot more in control if I keep on looking for the next new business builder or associate. I can put at the bottom of the leg and help everybody in that leg to grow with a couple of points.
Yeah.
Now, do you just want to add something here that yes, we do want to recruit everybody. Yes, we do want to help everybody. But think about it from their side. They might be a little bit skeptical. So you're going to have to be prepared. You're going to have to open your heart. You're going to have to maybe share your GI Pro balance with them and tell them, this makes my tummy feel really great. Or, share your Lumi. I just did a Lumi facial yesterday again in the coffee shop. It's so much fun. We can get coffee cake and a Lumi facial.
Yeah.
So, but think about what it would do for them, to them and for them, because that is the real benefit of sharing this business or sharing the products. It is how their lives are going to change. It's how their families are going to be impacted, how their kids will grow up differently.
Mhm.
With the self-development, I mean, so many of our new presidentials said, the products are phenomenal. The business is absolutely amazing, but the self-development was what really got their lives changing and their children's lives changing. So we are in a generational changing of lives. And it
Mhm.
does not just end with products and business, it goes through to the self development. So, can I tell them about one of or two of my favorite books, Sinead?
You can. 'Cause that's a question. So we were going to get to adventure. We love a book. We always end this call with what book recommendation. I've got my pen and paper ready because somebody's going to say in the chat, what was it? Yeah, go for your go for it.
Okay, so So I really, really, really love this book, Building an Empire from Brian Carruthers.
Hmm.
Firstly, what I love about Brian Carruthers is he's actually still in the field. We have a lot of teachers in this industry who's not in the field anymore.
Hmm.
And they are selling their experience from 5 or 10 or 15 years ago. It does not mean it's not relevant, but this book is literally, I feel it's written for Mannatech.
Yeah.
So if you don't have Building an Empire, get yourself Building an Empire. And if you are a terrible reader like me, okay, I have to buy the book twice. I have to find the book on Audible or some other, platform, and I have to have the book read while I read. Okay, something about a right brain dominant person. But for all the left brainers out there, you'll love the book. For all the right brainers, there's tools. There's no excuses. If you want to grow, you go the extra mile and you grow. Nothing's going to happen if you don't decide it needs to happen.
Hmm.
And the amazing thing about small decisions is it becomes habits. If you read one day, once a day for every month that passes, you are solidifying that process of growth, and it makes you want to go out there and go practice these things.
Hmm.
No use in, Leonie always said, it's not knowledge that empowers you. It is applied knowledge. You need to go out there, find a test subject, or find a test group and see what, promoting does, or see what encouraging does, or see what loving does to that group. And I promise you, you're going to be amazed when you measure your results from year to year, because that's how we actually measure our results, not just from month to month. We need to be in a better, bigger space next year this time than we are today.
I love that. I've written down applied knowledge. And for those of you that are unaware, Leonie, that Alet-Marie is referring to, is Leonie van der, who is um, Alet-Marie's beautiful upline and mentor, and is an incredible, incredible leader, and speaks a lot of wisdom from a lot of experience. And I think the other thing about all of this is, you talk about the products and you talk about the business, but to me, that personal development, that growth that's possible is the unsung hero of our business. Because I've seen people who couldn't hold a conversation stand on stage and speak their heart in front of thousands of people and grow and just, I think this industry doesn't discriminate and anybody can do it, but it's not for the chosen few, but it's for the few who choose. And
Oh, yes.
I think that's an incredible thing. But I love those stories. Somebody getting a passport for the first time, somebody being asked to tell their story in public for the first time, and the fear that comes with that is real because public speaking is a fear for people. But once they become comfortable and you see it feels like there's a light turns on and they glow from the inside and on the outside with Lumi. But I feel that you see that in somebody where that growth comes, and it's a confidence but not an arrogance, and it's a
Mhm.
quiet confidence. You see that come out in somebody, and I love that. And I've written down the book. So, Building an Empire, Brian Carruthers, for those of you who are asking, because somebody's in the chat right now going, what was the name of that book again? I coughed or I blinked and I missed it. You said books. Do you want to talk about, was there another one you wanted to mention, or was it just books in
There is another one I want to mention. It
general?
was my very first book that JP gave to me. Mine Roller wasn't around a long time. He dropped
Mhm.
out fairly quickly. And JP Costa from Cape Town, South Africa, took me by the hand because we went to executive director fairly quickly, which was another miracle, right? So um, I could only say JP was the best coach I had at that stage because that was exactly what I needed. He gave me the book GoPro, which probably all of you know from Eric Worre, and he actually autographed it on the inside and he said, Alet-Marie, you're going to read like your life depends on it. And now I realize it did. You know, so I remember, taking the book, looking at it and, putting it down. And I was pretty hesitant because I got that far with performing, and we got one or two people excited. My mom had great results. She started sharing with people. So I thought, I had it made, if my mom can do this and I can do that. And, we can just have a third person do something else on this side. Then I'm going to go right to the top. Um, those thoughts don't last long normally. And I was sort of experiencing a little bit of like a little bit of a regression. My mom wasn't too excited because she was given objections and I couldn't manage to find that third person. So I was a little bit stuck at that stage, but I managed to do executive director and the money was very good. The money was more that I made in my goldsmith business per month. So I loved what I can do with the money. I could buy better food for the house. I could pay my phone, all those basic things. The kids were still, our son was still in diapers then, so you have a lot of expenses when you have small kids. Um, but it literally gave me that freedom because remember at that stage, Quentin was still not very excited about the business. And if I can give you a little insight, the thing that drove me personally was not I could make more money or I could impact more people or I could change their lives. It was very self-centered. We had fights every single winter about the kids' winter clothes. And I know in Australia it gets just as cold in some parts, but their sweaters were like up to their knees. And you can't go through that kind of winter with a sweater, with the pants coming to your knees, or, all the blazers were like right here. Literally outgrown all their clothes. And every winter we would fight about a clothing budget because we just couldn't afford any more clothes. And I remember my very first executive check came in, and as I was messaging Quentin and saying to him, can't I just use X amount of money? I know it's tight this month, but the kids really, really, really need blouses and, tracksuits and all the winter clothes. I'll be very good with a budget, but and ding came in the message from Mannatech. It was payday. And I literally, from like director back then to executive director, was quite a huge jump. And I had more money to spend on clothes that day. And I didn't have to, this was my pitch at first. I didn't have to ask Quentin permission to use any money of the family's money. So that gave me such a sense of empowerment that I could literally provide for my family for the basic things that they need if I could work a little bit harder and work at this leadership journey. And as we were doing that, as I was buying those clothes, we were getting ready to go to Manifest. It was my first Manifest. My enroller failed to mention there was an incentive, so I had to pay my way there. And I can just say, thank you for JP who've invested a little bit. He said, if you can get this much together, I'll give you this little bit, and that will pay my ticket. So I literally went there with almost no pocket money. And the story, the suitcase got lost in Heathrow. The airplane just didn't pack it to the next flight. I was in America with one pair of jeans, two pairs of shirts that I wore on top of each, two long t-shirts, no makeup, no wash, no nothing. It was funny now. It wasn't so funny then. But JP literally on the way there said to me, you need to read this book because it needs to be read by the time I see you tomorrow morning in London. So I knew I had one flight to finish this book.
Yeah.
And if it meant I needed to read through the night, it was crunch time. And I'm so glad he did that. I'm so glad he put in little ultimatums, friendly ultimatums, because that pushed me outside of my comfort zone. Reading is not in my comfort zone. Like I said, I need the audio book to move through the book a little bit faster, or a flight and a very, very strict upline in London. But just making those tiny little goals, those tiny little improvements, that became a habit. I became addicted absolutely addicted to self-development. And like I said, we need to be in a better place. Even if you can be in a better place next week, Friday or Saturday or Monday or Wednesday, you won. You won this decaying world's battle, um, and you advanced in your leadership journey. So everything in this world is left to regression. If you're going to sit around on a couch or lie on a bed, you're going to lose your muscle, you're going to lose your mind, you're going to lose your everything,
Possibly put
But
on a
if
bit of weight
you,
because you're not moving. Yeah.
but if you make a conscious effort, because that's it, it doesn't happen by chance. It doesn't happen easily. You have to put in the work to make the change.
I love it. I think I have a memory of you telling me that when you got stuck at one point, JP said, simple answer was, you're not reading enough. That what are you reading? You're not reading enough. And you make JP sound stern, but I've traveled with JP, and JP, incredible leader, very intentional, understood the business, understood people, but was a lot of fun. We shared a lot of laughs around Australia with JP, and an incredible leader. And I think you say that it's a miracle that you got this far, but I think JP saw in you that maybe something you didn't see in yourself at that
Mm.
time. But if you've ever met Alet-Marie and Quentin in person, you know it's not a miracle. It's very intentional. It's growth. It's learning. It's been willing to take that next step. The old saying is, people always think the harder I work, the luckier get. I don't believe this is a miracle. I think if it is a miracle, it's one that you self-created, because you took a leap of faith. I think in this business, you need three things: belief in the product, belief in network marketing, and most importantly, believe
Mhm.
in yourself. And I think when you listen to you today, those three things are very evident. Doesn't mean that self-belief is quite often the hardest. Doesn't mean that it's 100% there 100% of the time. But you've learned the lessons along the way that takes you to the next step, which I think is awesome. Okay, we're almost at time. We could talk all day. In the precursor to chatting for about 5 hours before we got to this point, but I love it. If so to wrap up right now, because I'm looking at everybody on the call at the moment, and we've talked about leadership and we've talked about recruitment, and we've just had Dr. Nugent out here, which you guys also had Dr. Nugent in South Africa, and we've been introducing some. We were able to lock Dr. Nugent in a recording studio and get some really, really good short snippets. So we've released some of these videos. I know you've seen them because you've tapped me for them.
Yes.
And from a leadership point of view, there's some great content. Your story is important. What would you be telling somebody to do right now? Saying you've got some really good things that you can share. You probably have a list of people that you want to follow up, and knowing the value of somebody's own story. What are a couple of little tips you'd leave with somebody today to get them moving right now?
Okay, so first of all, I think thank you for all those kind things you said, Sinead. But it's good to believe in miracles if you don't believe in yourself yet, or if you don't believe in the company or the product yet. Okay, so if you need to believe in the miracles, you go do that. You believe in the miracles. That was what made me maybe push through all the barriers and have faith that it can work out. I love the tools that you've created. I love all the short videos. It's so impactful because it keeps on dripping that little bit of information on your customers or on your associates, together with, have you heard how great so and so is sleeping now? Or have you heard, this person's child story? Or have you seen the results people are getting with Illumination? Or you can combine the video with your piece of the puzzle, with your little short story or your testimony, to keep dripping on people. Most people think, and I thought this in the beginning, and it goes. Eric Gorey actually states it in his book as well, that when you're a poser in the beginning, he calls it a poser. He says that, if you can just catch everybody, and make the deal go through, and then you'll feel, you're successful. But that's not actually the success of this business. We signed up a lady 2 nights ago that we've been working with for 3 years. For 3 years, we went. She's quite far away from us, but they have a brilliant little um, coffee shop depot, diesel depot. So we fill up the car and we have some coffee, or some nice for the South Africans who know biltong and droewors. Because I know there's a couple of South Africans who probably be listening as well. So we always go past their shop and have something, and just bring them something from the farm or share a jar Pro Balance. And so they saw us in January, and she said, "Yo, you look great." And I explained to her that we just did our liver reset, and it had such a profound effect on all four of the Van Zyl House family members. And she said, "Oh, she wants to do that." And I said, "Okay, I'll send you some info." But again, it was dripping a little bit, dripping a little bit. Here's a video, there's a testimony, there's a that. And eventually she bought, for her and her husband, she bought liver reset packs. And I know you don't have the liver reset pack yet in Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore, but I mean, I also believe in miracles. So there you go. But so this journey carried on. And why I'm explaining to you this, because it was literally 3 years before she said she'll try the liver reset. The The second thing I did was, every single time I would think of her, I have a good intuition like that, where I think of somebody and I contact them immediately. But you might have to set reminders, maybe set a reminder once a month or once every 3 weeks to check in with somebody if you are more of a left brain person. So when I thought of her, I would send her a message and say, "Hey, we are in Cape Town at the Success Summit," or "Hey, I'm thinking about you. We bought some fruit trees together." So I said, "How's your cherry trees doing?" Or, "Have you had some fruit this year?" Or, so it was really investing in the relationship. And eventually, when I said to her, "Listen, we're coming up for a church conference in Pretoria. I want to come do a Lumi facial, because I said to you, next time I see you, I'll bring my Lumi kit with." And just there and then she answered me back. She said, "What was that huge pack you said I could have with a Lumi facial and some combos? Because we really need some products. And I think it's time. We've really thought about it, and I really think it's time we do the business." So, you know, she was sold because she sold herself. Okay. I was just there to care. And I genuinely cared. It wasn't the cheap, it wasn't the put honey around somebody's mouth kind of thing. It was because I really cared, year in, year out, season in, season out. I mean, they've been through tough times, and I just sometimes send her a nice song or a word of encouragement. And then they went through brilliant times where I said, "I'm so glad with you for this and this and this." And that's the journey. This journey is about becoming a better person. It's becoming a more caring, loving, good human being. Because if you care enough about your fellow brother or sister in this world, you're going to want to share with them. And somebody said to me last night, if, she wished she could just have more courage. And I said to her, "You know what? Living in this world takes courage at this stage. Continuing day to day is going to take courage. That lady has her own salon where she does all sorts of beauty treatments." I said to her, "That, it takes a huge amount of courage." And you know what? So it does not really, take that much more to have courage to share the products with. You can just use the words, "Have you heard?" or "Have you seen what this and this did for so and so?" So I absolutely love, always. I mean, even you can maybe think of one or two people that that's like this. I mean, even if somebody says to me, "There's a veggie special on lemons, at this and this shop," I would tell everybody I know, because it's good for them to take lemon water with salt in the morning, okay? Or
I
it's
was
good
thinking
for them
lemon meringue pie, but you've gone to the healthy option.
for you to have lemon meringue pie as well. I love that. But so it's about being intentional with your caring,
Yeah.
and become a great sharer. Just obviously, when you share something, please know that it needs to be something of worth. Don't share horrible stories or horrible news events, or that kind of thing does not attract a better crowd. Okay,
No.
you attract disaster into your life if you share that. So yeah, become a person that brings the good news. Become a person that cares enough about everybody else, because I know what your population is that side of the world, and there is not nearly enough people on the products to to actually counter the kind of world we're living in. Dr. Nugent loves to call it, we're living in a toxic soup.
Hmm.
Okay. So we need these products just to live in this toxic soup.
Yeah.
And how amazing it is to become, with a leadership journey, to become the person that you were created to be, that you were meant to always be, to become the bigger person, the greater, yeah, just to, yeah, when you become, you're going to live the life that you've always dreamed of. So I want to maybe leave you with that. In this whole process, make sure you become, and measure your success from week to week, but more importantly, from where you were last year to where you are now, if you are working on this journey, or if you just started, from where you are now to where you will be next year this time. Look back, and maybe that's also a good thing, to put yourself way ahead, because I couldn't imagine what it felt like to become a presidential. And I started imagining, how would these type of earrings look on a presidential, or how would a presidential speak, or what
Hmm.
kind of dresses would a presidential wear, and what kind of person do I need to become that person, you know to be the presidential. So maybe use your exercises when you're in your self-development time each day to work on your picture of where you want to go, and see it as past tense, because that would also greatly improve the time that you take to get to presidential and beyond. If that is your goal, some people don't want that goal. Please don't enforce that on them. I've also made that mistake. Some people really, really just want to stick around for the community, and
Yeah.
that is fantastic. Okay, and maybe sometimes they will share enough to because they care enough about other people. Um, but make sure you work with your leaders and like you said, JP saw something I thought was going to take miracles, and it did take miracles. I'm not going to lie about it. There was definitely miracles involved. Um, but as we worked from little stepping stones of this miracle and this miracle, and me just being, if you're ever with me when I do an appointment, that hour or that half an hour, it's only Mannatech. Mannatech, excitement. I mean, you can wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me a testimony, and I'm excited about that. So maybe go and recruit the people that are excited, because they get something done that, I
Hmm.
mean, they don't even know what they're doing. I didn't even know what I was doing. But JP guided me so wisely to make me reach the next goal. And like I said, lots of miracles in between, but the more I practiced, the luckier I got.
Yes.
And eventually, Quentin joined the journey because we did make it stable. So, if that is your heart's desire, if you just want a very good, stable income, pursue this journey and persevere, because perseverance is also something that we find you have to work at it. It does not come naturally.
I love it. Alet-Marie, I'm always inspired when I spend time with you. I always come away with the biggest smile on my face, and you know what? Miracles do happen, and um,
Absolutely.
and quite often by design, but we don't realize it at the time. And I think the one thing that you've said is sometimes you just have to have faith that it can happen and that it will happen and lean into it. So thank you so much for being our guest this morning. I'm sure everybody in the chat and everybody watching has taken so much away from this. I guarantee you somebody's already bought Building an Empire, because I believe most people will have had GoPro or will have heard of it. And I reckon somebody's already been sitting there going, oh, where will I find this online? So if you found it online, really quickly pop that in the chat too. So Alet-Marie, from all of us to you all the way over in South Africa, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been absolutely incredible. Say hi to Quentin for us. We
Will
do love
do.
him too. And everybody else, thank you for joining us this morning. Again, these are always recorded and it will be available to you very soon in case you've missed it or you want to watch it again, because there's always something you get from rewatching. You always take something else away from a rewatch, but maybe you want to share it with somebody in your team that was unable to make it this morning. So have a great weekend, everybody, and we will see you on our very, very next call. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alet-Marie.
Thanks for having me, Sinead. Love you, everybody. Bye.